So, have you ever really stopped to think about what holds your city together? I mean, it's more than just the buildings and the people, right? Underneath it all, there's this invisible system, kind of like a hidden skeleton that dictates, well, pretty much everything, from how you get to work in the morning to the kinds of opportunities you have. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that system. Infrastructure. Let's see how it's all connected.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll break down what this hidden skeleton really is. Then, we'll see how it can be a massive engine for growth. After that, we're going to zoom way in for a tale of two neighborhoods to see how it creates inequality. Then we'll get into the really juicy stuff, the politics of it all, before zooming all the way out to see how this whole pattern plays out on a global scale.
Okay, first things first. What exactly is this skeleton that's holding our cities upright? What are we even talking about here?
I mean, you've probably noticed this, right? It's a pretty simple question, but the answer is way more complicated than you'd think. You know, why is the internet blazing fast on one side of town and painfully slow on the other? Or why are some parks just beautiful while others are kind of falling apart? The answer to all of that, you guessed it, is infrastructure.
So what is it, really? At its core, infrastructure is just the collection of all the basic stuff a city or a country needs to run. It's the roads, the water pipes, the power lines, the internet cables, the whole shebang. It is literally the foundation that allows our society to function. And that's why the skeleton analogy is so perfect. It gives our cities their shape, their structure, their ability to move.
And this skeleton, you can kind of break it down into four main parts. You've got transportation. Think of these as the arteries and veins, like roads and subways. Then there are the utilities, which are like the city's nervous system. Water, electricity, internet. You've got public services, schools, hospitals. Those are the vital organs. And more, we're thinking about sustainable systems. You know, the city's lungs, things like parks and green infrastructure.
And this is where it gets incredibly serious. Because when that skeleton breaks, the consequences can be absolutely catastrophic. The tragedy in Flint, Michigan is just a horrifying reminder that when infrastructure fails, it's not just some small inconvenience. No, it's a full-blown public health crisis that can poison a community for generations. The stakes are incredibly high.
So, we know it's critical for survival, but infrastructure does so much more than just keep the lights on. It can be this powerful engine for creating opportunity and wealth, or it can trap whole communities in a downward spiral.
It's actually a pretty simple rule of business. Companies want to set up shop where they know things just work, right? They need electricity that won't flicker, internet that won't drop, and roads that can get their products out the door. Good infrastructure is basically a giant welcome, we're open for business sign for a city.
Just look at Atlanta. Why did a giant like Amazon decide to build a massive fulfillment center there? Well, because the city had the whole package ready to go. We're talking great highways, a huge international airport, and solid high-speed internet. That combo was the perfect backbone for a logistics beast like Amazon. And that investment, it meant thousands of new jobs for the area.
And this kicks off a really powerful positive feedback loop. You can think of it as a cycle of wealth. Here's how it works. Step 1, a city invests in top-notch infrastructure. That leads to Step 2, which tracks new businesses. Those businesses, in turn, generate a lot more tax money. That's Step 3. And what can the city do with that new revenue? You guessed it. Step 4, reinvest in even better infrastructure. And the whole cycle starts all over again. But, of course, there's a flip side to this coin. If a place has crumbling roads, patchy internet, and an unreliable power grid, businesses are going to stay far, far away. And with no new investment, the city's tax base shrinks, which means there's no money to fix the crumbling infrastructure. It becomes this vicious cycle of decay and economic decline that's really hard to break. And here's the thing. This cycle doesn't just happen between different cities. It happens within them. So let's zoom in and see how infrastructure can create two totally different realities, sometimes just a few streets apart.
Yeah, a great case study for this is Philadelphia. It shows just how stark the divides can be. In a single city, you can have this massive gap between the quality of infrastructure that serves wealthy people and what serves poor populations. The quality of your daily life, your access to things like safe roads or clean water, can change dramatically just based on your zip code. The city's skeleton isn't the same everywhere. It's got strong bones in some places and really brittle ones in others.
And just look at this comparison here. It's night and day. On one side in the wealthier neighborhoods, you see the signs of constant investment. Freshly paved roads, well-kept parks, reliable services. On the other side, in impoverished neighborhoods, you see the exact opposite. Cracked pavement, neglected public spaces, and maybe bus routes that don't really connect people to where the jobs are. And this isn't just an annoyance, it is a massive barrier to opportunity. Okay, so this brings us to probably the most important question of all. How does this even happen? Is it just random, an accident? The answer, pretty clearly, is no. It's about power.
I mean, think about it. Who decides which potholes get filled first, which neighborhoods get a brand new park, and which ones get a highway built right through the middle of them? These decisions don't just happen by magic. Real people make them.
And those decisions are, at their heart, political. It all comes down to how limited money and resources get handed out. It's shaped by decisions made decades ago, like the massive boom in highway spending that helped build the suburbs, often at the expense of city public transit. And maybe most importantly, it reflects who already has power.
Let's just be really clear about this. When a city government sits down to figure out its infrastructure budget, those decisions are almost always influenced by who has the loudest voice and the most political pull. Wealthier, more connected communities are often just way better at advocating for themselves, making sure their part of the skeleton stays strong and healthy.
Okay, let's pull the lens back one last time, because this pattern of inequality, this whole tale of two neighborhoods, it doesn't just happen inside one city. It pretty much defines our entire world.
That dynamic we just saw in Philadelphia, with its well-served areas and its underserved ones, it's basically a perfect miniature model of the relationship between the world's richest and poorest countries. It's the same story, just on a global stage.
On a global scale, we sometimes call this the divide between core and periphery countries. The core countries, a lot like those wealthy neighborhoods, have the money to build and maintain the amazing infrastructure that big global companies are looking for. Meanwhile, the periphery countries, just like those impoverished neighborhoods, don't have the tax base to build those essential systems in the first place.
And this creates the exact same vicious cycle, but on an international level. It's a catch-22. Without modern ports, a stable electric grid, and fast internet, global companies just aren't going to invest. But without that investment, these countries are starved of the tax revenue they desperately need to, well, build the very infrastructure that would attract companies in the first place. It is a global trap. So you see? From the little crocks in the sidewalk on your street all the way up to the massive complex web of global trade, it all comes back to this hidden skeleton. Infrastructure is that invisible but incredibly powerful force that is quietly shaping our lives, our opportunities, and the very structure of our world every single day.
Which leaves us with one final thought to take with you. The next time you're out, maybe driving or walking or taking the bus through your community, just look a little closer. Look at the roads, look at the parks, the bus stops. What story is your city's skeleton telling you? What does it say about where your community has been, where it is now, and what it really prioritizes for the future?